Hello and welcome to Unleashed. Unleashed is produced by Umbrex. You can find us at umbrex.com. That's Umbrex. Umbrex is the fastest way to find the right independent consultant for your project. I'm your host, Will Bachman, and I'm here today with Umbrex member Ulrich Riedel, who's going to talk to us about his pricing model, which is relatively unusual, practically unique among consultants that I know. Ulrich, welcome to the show.
Hello, good to be here.
So, Ulrich, take it from here. Give us an overview of your approach to pricing. I don't know any other consultants who do it the way you do.
Thanks so much, Will. Well, first I want to start. Each independent consultant is, of course, unique and different. Today, you will hear only my perspective on the topic. I see a couple of themes here which are necessary to build up an at-risk pricing model. It's a value-based at-risk pricing model. So it means I don't get paid upfront. I don't get paid daily rates. I get paid at the very end when I can convince the client that I delivered value, and I get a share percentage of that value. So what's necessary to make something like that happen? And some of that I learned the hard way. It's a complicated thing to set up. The first one is you need actually the right offer. Yeah, if the client doesn't perceive your value to be unique, it's difficult to convince him to accept at-risk pricing. And you need somehow be able to measure it. The second is yourself. You need a certain appetite for risk. You need to be willing and able to digest a zero compensation every now and then. Not everyone wants that. You need the right, third theme is you need the right client personality. Only a fraction of client individuals are actually willing or are able to accept an at-risk pricing model. The fourth theme is, and that's linked to it somehow, you need to develop your own approach to generate projects, and that approach needs to work for your offer linked to your at-risk pricing model. And that's now my personal estimate, but I think you need 2 to 5 times the effort you normally need to generate projects. And you just need to be aware of that and need to build your business model around that. And I see 3 key levers to address that. Yeah, and how do you generate projects with an at-risk pricing model? So the first one is, I think you will find quite quickly that your network won't be sufficient for generating enough projects, simply because so many of your sometimes close relations are simply not able to accept an at-risk pricing model. It doesn't fit well into budgeting cycles and so on. So a solution for that can be a targeted and quite deep cold lead generation via LinkedIn. And that's a whole topic for itself. And maybe I mentioned that here, that there will be a separate Unleashed podcast on that specific topic.
Yes, stay tuned for that episode.
Excellent. Then we have a second lever here, which is work with people like Will and others in your sphere who have contact to potential clients and projects and who can make the link. And then with a profit sharing model, depending on the situation. And the third one, which I found especially helpful, is establish yourself as a real expert in what you do, but not so much with the objective, convince people you are an expert. People will trust that you deliver. Otherwise, you wouldn't try selling them something like that. But that establishing yourself as an expert should have the objective to establish you as someone who can be trusted. Trust is the big item here. It's different. It's a different model. You work potentially with people you have never seen before in your life. and you need to establish a quite significant level of trust to make them willing to even engage with you, and then to have a project with you. And then there's, of course, a fifth theme. You need to know how you value the value, how you put numbers behind the value you created, how you have the dialogue with the client at the very end, how that whole piece works, and what you what principles you would like to establish there. And that's it. The right offer, your appetite for risk, the right client personality, the right approach to generate projects, and then as a core of at-risk value-based pricing, you need to be able to put numbers behind that value.
All right, so let's talk about your practice for a minute to give an illustration of how this at-risk pricing works. Tell us about your specific service, which is also very specific of what you do.
Yes. Well, I'm not doing projects themselves. I'm looking at projects. I'm looking at what I call large, complex projects. Large means more than 100 million NPV generation. Complex means as many functions and hierarchies and global reach and country, as difficult an implementation as possible, with different cultures, with change management necessities, with hesitancies, with conflicting priorities. The more complex, the better. So if a client has a large, complex project, then I'm there. I'm there to look at the entirety of the project and its implementation, and I will simply generate another 8 to 15% of value from that project, which so far has been something between $20 and $600 million NPV, always talking NPV. So a typical example is, it just came up yesterday, a small, that was not such a big company, a few hundred million turnover, but they have only three main main projects to shape their future. And one of them is building a complete new business model with a new technology, a hybrid version of what they are currently doing. They are market leader, at least here in Europe, in that area. And they want me at the point where they decide how to go forward. So they are currently working on all that, building a legal entity. What would the team look like, including already names? What is the strategy? What is the execution of that strategy? How do the next 3-5 years would look like? And the moment they are ready to decide on that, they would like to engage me and have me do my spiel, which is, I talk to a lot of people. I am in a lot of meetings to learn passively, to learn about the mentality of the client, how the client works, therefore how implementation works, therefore what works and what doesn't work during implementation. And of course, content-wise, I do whatever is needed, talking to tens and tens and tens of people in all hierarchies, especially down where things are translated into reality. I mean, I love night shifts in factories, for example. You learn so much there because no management is there, and then if you just participate there, you hear at the coffee machine and at the machine, you hear so much. So I accumulate, I collect a lot of data points, and then I sense where value is hidden. Either a risk which has not yet been addressed adequately, or an opportunity within the frame of what is a plan, but tweaking it a bit and generating much more value out of it. Only 1 or 2 changes, interventions I call them, with an extremely solid implementation plan. I work half of the time only on the implementation plan. So for me, value is only when it's real on the ground. And then once I've finished that, I came up with one intervention, and I end with the implementation plan. Then I sit down with a client, and I tell him, I mean, what did we change? Very simple. In your world of NPV calculations, I only touch 2 different variables. It's volume and it's cost. And I touch it like that, and my assumption is this and that, and then there is a value of X. And then we have a discussion on content, on value drivers, like you have if you're discussing, I don't know, and if you purchase a company, you discuss to purchase price, you look at value creation of the deal, or in an investment discussion, you discuss value. What is a change in the business, and what is the value of it, and therefore is it worth it? And that's what I do. I offer an kind of at least a change, and I give a suggestion what that change is worth from my point of view. Of course, always checked and verified with the finance department from a methodological point of view, and then we agree. I take away my right to sue the client at the very beginning. Yeah? And part of my business model is I have no way to sue for compensation. And that very moment, suddenly I discuss with managers. I was a senior manager in the past. I discuss eye to eye on content, and not with legal departments and provability and I don't know what. And it works. Yeah, it's that piece clients are always very worried about, but in the end, it's pretty straightforward. They have had these discussions tens of times in their life. They are just not aware of it because they've never applied it to a client consultant situation. But it's a day-to-day discussion for them, and then we agree. And then we agree, and then I get compensated.
So walk us through how you actually, calculate your fees. So let's say that the project was 100 million NPV project, and you do an intervention that is going to increase that by $10 million. So now it's 110 million. How would you typically calculate your fee?
Yeah, that's now a very personal question, but I give a very clear answer. I mean, the starting value for me personally is 5%, and that's what I communicate. And of course, if I had a project which is 10 times as big, 20 times as big, I would never get 5%. So then it will be adapted. But 5% is the value for a typical project which I ask for from the very beginning. It's in a one-page contract. I call it handshake agreement because legally I can't enforce it. It's still a contract. Both parties sign, so they would need to break a contract if they don't pay me. But I can't enforce it. So in that contract, it's just one page, very simple thing, and there the percentage is in. If it's a smaller company, I go up because otherwise it would not match what I could generate in other places. I'm not driven by money, but it still has to make sense for my side. And so it's between, let's say, 1% and 10%, and my starting point is 5%.
And what's the search time like, or the sales cycle to, you mentioned at the beginning how specific it has to be. It has to check all these different boxes of, client open to this sort of pricing model, and they have a big project that's starting. So like, how long are you typically, looking for a project versus the time to, work on one?
I mean, working on a project is 2 to 3 months. It needs a substantial time to get into it, but it doesn't need too much time because at some point I won't just find anything. So it's no point to continue. So it takes 3 months usually. The search time is huge. It can almost go into the years. You have something, and then there's an idea, and then things change, and circumstances change. But there is still the contact, and people like to engage you. But then they start a new project. It will finish in 8 months' time, and so you have a call in 7 months' time, and so it's really a long sales cycle, and that's why client. Prospect generation, lead generation, client generation, however you want to call it, is at the center of my work. Much more time than I thought originally.
And how can people find you online, Ulrich, if they wanted to follow up and learn more about your firm or reach out to you?
I mean, my name on LinkedIn is maybe the best way. Otherwise, my webpage, which I think you're mentioning, it's I'm happy to be contacted any way. You will also find my telephone number on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. For me, LinkedIn has become, I don't like the so much anymore, the content piece of LinkedIn, the articles and so on. Although I also participate there, but I do like stay in contact and find new interesting people. And so whoever contacts me via LinkedIn will certainly get an answer pretty quickly.
And we will include those links in the show notes. Ulrich, thank you for joining us today. This was amazing, and it's very cool hearing about your unique model.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Will.